Hello and welcome to the Mindful Men podcast, a show helping men to open up about manhood. My name is Simon Rennie and my aim is to get men talking. From mental health to fatherhood and everything in between, Mindful Men creates a safe space for conversation. Now, before we get into this episode, I want to say a huge thank you for joining me. It means a world for you to join me and talk about men's issues. And if you love what you hear, please subscribe and share the episode with your mates. You can also join the conversation on Instagram and YouTube, and I'd love to connect with you there. But for now, sit back, relax, and let's get mindful. G'day guys, and welcome to episode 11 of the Mindful Men podcast. My name is Simon Rennie, and I'm the man behind Mindful Men. In today's episode, I am bringing you 5 more positive affirmations to inspire you. Yep, that's right, 5 more. Plus a bonus one, which really makes it 6, but 5 sounds better for marketing. In episode 10, I brought you the first 5, and I had another 6 up my sleeve that I really wanted to share with you. One of the things I like about affirmations is that they promote positivity. They force the mind to put aside the negative bullshit for a moment and open up to a world of new possibilities. Whether this is within our mental or physical health, our parenting or starting a business or running a business or our work, or even our relationships, a positive mindset can help us make decisions. It can help us grow and take calculated risks and reap the rewards of our effort. On the other hand, a negative mindset keeps us stuck. It drags us down to a world of hurt, pain, and suffering. But we can regain that positivity with affirmations. So let's get stuck into 5 more positive affirmations that will inspire you, plus a bonus one. Number 1, nothing changes if nothing changes. This one simplifies the Tony Robbins quote I mentioned in episode 10, where change happens when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. Put simply, nothing changes if nothing changes. Another way to look at this one is to consider it as a fork in a road statement. The road to the left is the same old bullshit. It's the same old struggle, hurt, pain, heartache, hurdles, sadness, and resentment. And you've walked down that path so many times that your footprints will one day become fossilized. Future generations will look at these footprints and wonder what you're up to. They'll study your shit to work out what you ate. And here they'll find that bitter pill that you kept swallowing. They'll conclude that you were a sucker for punishment until the point that you finally stopped walking that path. Then they'll notice you take a turn to the path on the right, the path that saw you change your habits, like putting down that beer or eating right and exercising, or redefining your support systems by letting go of toxic relationships, or going back to study to reskill and get the job that you wanted. And then these future generations will be happy for you. They will draw from your inspiration that you changed your life. And you know what? Those future generations could be your kids or your grandkids. Nothing changes if nothing changes. If you keep walking to the left, you will stay stuck in old ways. So do yourself a favor and take the path to the right next time you loop back around. Number 2, one step taken today is one less step you need to take tomorrow. In undertaking any change process, there's fear and the uncertainty of what will happen. Take that path to the right, for example. You haven't walked it before. And the fear that comes with the unknown has probably been why you kept turning left. But the truth is, we don't know whether we'll succeed or fail. We hope to the gods that we will succeed and prosper, but we'll never know if we never give it a go. And there's likely been times in the past where you've tried and failed miserably. And this failure is what has caused you from stop trying altogether. And as we get older, we might have kids and are demanding jobs, and we become time poor. And as this happens, we think that any change process is a huge mountain to climb. We think that we need to climb to the top in one go or we've failed. Suddenly, the mountain becomes insurmountable. We then get comfortable. We keep turning on that path to the left because we know it. We know what will happen, and even if we don't like it, we keep walking it because it's familiar. And this brings security, even if that security actually harms us. What this affirmation does is teach us that the mountain can be climbed, one step at a time, the smallest step. The smallest step towards positive change is that little bit closer to change. It's that little bit farther away from pain that we've been enduring. And yes, we may fall over. We may learn along the way. I follow the Fit Dad lifestyle on Instagram and Facebook, and Leroy always promotes us followers to be 1% better than yesterday. Why? Because this is achievable. 1% or one step. I can do that, and so can you. Even if that one step is having a shower or a shave. It could be texting a mate that you've been meaning to touch base with, or even calling them if you're old school like that. It could be booking an appointment for therapy or applying for a new job. It could be putting yourself out there at a new social event or creating a podcast to share your story with the world. With each step that we take, we just need to focus on the one coming next. We don't need to look up to the top of the mountain unless it's to make sure that we're climbing the right mountain. With each step, we benefit from compound interest. We grow exponentially. And before we know it, we're standing at the top of that mountain. But it all starts with one step. Once that happens, take it slow, make it purposeful, and then just keep walking. Number 3, we may not have it all together, but together we have it all. On our 7-year wedding anniversary, my wife wrote this quote in a card to me. And I connected with it because it made me feel loved and wanted despite all my flaws. But it also highlighted to me that in this crazy consumerist world that we live in, we actually only need each other to be happy. You see, our lives are often filled with noise that demands us to have it all, from good mental health to a great career, lots of money and possessions. Unfortunately, this can take precedent over all else, and we lose track of the people around us that actually help us through life. As a result, we can take quality relationships for granted. But when we stop and pause and set aside this pursuit of things and focus on the people in our life, we're reminded that it's our relationships that matter most. It's the relationships with our partners or our kids, our parents, family, friends, or peers. It's the connection that we have with each other built on trust, respect, empathy, and compassion. And our relationships aren't perfect by any means. They're bumpy, weird, wonderful, and adventurous. They're smooth or salty and can be up and down. Providing they're not toxic, then they're actually good for us. And when we center in on this and not the other shit that life tells us is more important, then we feel connected. We feel loved and heard, valued and appreciated. And it's in these safe spaces that we can truly be ourselves, warts and all. Number 4, comparison is the thief of joy. American President Theodore Roosevelt is attributed to having said this gem. In today's world, all we seem to do is compare ourselves to others. In the pursuit of things, we get caught up in trying to keep up with the Joneses. Why? Because the Joneses seem to have it easy. The grass on their side of the fence is greener. They have the new cars and the bigger house, the time and apparent financial freedom. And we seem to struggle with all this. Now, I feel sorry for Mr. and Mrs. Jones because they get a hard run for this line of thought. They're the Karens or the boomers of yesteryear in a time before TikTok and millennials. But it's not so much about Mr. and Mrs. Jones or even Karens and boomers too. It's actually a product of the consumer society that we live in today. From a young age, we're conditioned to place great importance on things. From the clothes we wear, to the bikes that we ride, to the video console that we play. Then as we get older, it turns into the car that we drive or the job that we have. And then it's the house that we buy, the suburb that we live in, and the school that our kids go to. It could be our professional title or whether we have the exclusive membership of that country club. We end up on this never-ending search for the perfect life where we have it all, and it makes us miserable. And even if we do obtain some of these things, the Joneses, they've moved on to bigger and better things. And they've left us behind and wondering what the hell happened. Comparing ourselves to others is fruitless. It serves no purpose other than to remind us of the things that we don't have. Instead, what we need to do is focus on what we do have, like our health, or if we're not well, on our commitment to get well. We could focus on our relationships and invest in quality ones. We could focus on our mindset, our purpose, and our values. And as I said earlier, we could even focus on being 1% better than yesterday, because growing with compound interest is knees to the bees. Number 5, be where your feet are. This one is for those who struggle to be present. Many moons ago, before we had kids, my wife and I went to Thailand. Our first stop was to head over to Phi Phi Island on what seemed like the slowest boat ride ever. As we floated along, I took a photo of my feet. In that moment, I thought it was a great reminder to be just okay with sitting there. I then put down the camera and just watched the horizon for a bit, enjoying the sea breeze flow through my thinning hair. Little did I know back then that I would remember that photo and then use it for an affirmation. I, for one, struggle with being present. My mind is always racing. It thinks a million thoughts a minute, and I'm always wondering what next. This was really bad during my master's degree because I couldn't just sit there and be okay with hanging out with the family. I would be constantly thinking of the next assignment or the readings I needed to do for that week. Then when I burned out, my therapist helped me realize that I needed to take the foot off the gas. I needed to be where my feet were. Thinking about this and that and something else did no good for me, and my relationship suffered for it. So I started saying, be where my feet are, when I found my mind was wandering. Like if I'm in the car and someone is talking to me, but I'm staring blankly at the car in front. Be where your feet are, Simon. And this helps me come back to the present. Number 6, you can do hard things. We've gone through the 5 more positive affirmations to inspire you. So here is the bonus one. Whenever I am really struggling, my wife often says, Simon, you can do hard things. And it's surprising how good this makes me feel when I hear her say it. When we're struggling with something, we often forget that we are pretty clever. I mean, I've completed 2 uni degrees, and I did my master's while working full time. I'm a father to 2 young children. I've had a career of 15 years with countless jobs serving the community. I've lived in 3 Australian states and 1 Australian territory. I've survived over 20 years of mental illness. I've lived through burnout and returned to work with better supports around me. I've run one of the world's toughest half marathons, the Point to Pinnacle in Hobart, Tasmania, climbing 1,200 metres from sea level to the top of Mount Wellington. I've survived 100% of my darkest days, and I'm here telling my story. So when my wife reminds me that I can do hard things, these are some of the things that I think about. I know I can do hard things. I just need reminding sometimes. and I bet you can do hard things too. So, there it is. 5 more positive affirmations to inspire you, plus the bonus one as a cherry on top. As you can see, affirmations aren't overly complex. In fact, they're pretty simple. They're a slice of inspiration to overcome whatever challenges that you face. They're easy to remember and they're unique to you. You might take some of these and put them to good use, or you might find completely new ones. Either way, adding affirmations to your daily routine can help bring back positivity into your life. And who doesn't mind being in a better headspace? Thanks for joining me today. My name is Simon Rennie. Until next time, stay mindful. Well, that's a wrap for today's episode, and I hope you got some value from it. If anything triggered your mental health today, please reach out to your support networks. Also, if you loved what you heard, be sure to subscribe to the show and share it with your mates. For more from Mindful Men, you can check us out on Instagram and YouTube, and I'll throw the links to these pages in the show notes below. But until next time, stay mindful.